Morning, everybody. Nice to see you all. It's my first NEM. Really happy to be here. As explained, I'm going to be talking about the power of brands and how successful it's been over the years for Fremantle. So I joined Fremantle, which back in those days was called Pearson Television, 27 years ago, 98. The Pearson Group had bought Thames Television back in 1991. They'd renamed it Pearson TV. And then in 1993, they appointed industry heavyweight Greg Dyke to be the CEO. Greg Dyke went on to become the Director General of the BBC. Greg then hired Cecile Foucault as his head of strategy. Cecile then became CEO of Fremantle in 2012. In the next 2 years, Greg and Cecile went around the world, essentially on a spending spree, buying companies. They bought Grundy in Australia. They bought Goodson in America. They bought UFA in Germany, a company called All American Fremantle, again in the US, and Talkback in the UK. And as a result of this, when I joined the company, we had incredibly successful series such as Family Feud, The Price is Right, Baywatch, and The Bill. Fast forward 26 years, and these 4 shows were still in our top 10 revenue earners in 2024. But going back to 2021, this was the next big turning point. RTL acquired Pearson Television and renamed it Fremantle. But at the same time, a talent show called Pop Idol had been developed by Simon Fuller and Simon Cowell and Fremantle. The first season was produced for ITV in the UK. It became an incredible success right from the start. Soon after, a US version, American Idol, starring Simon Cowell as a judge, was produced by Fremantle North America for Fox. It became an absolute cultural phenomenon and global hit. It had 26 million viewers at its peak in the US alone. Then in 2003, Simon Cowell developed and then became a judge on X Factor UK, followed by Britain's Got Talent 2 years later. Once again, these formats travelled to the US, with America's Got Talent again becoming a global success. So by the early 2000s, Fremantle owned or co-owned the most amazing slate of game shows and talent shows. And the next 25 years is all about rolling those out globally, either produced by Fremantle production companies or third-party producers or broadcasters. So Family Feud is now in its 43rd year in the US. The Price is Right has been going for 53 years on CBS and is still #1 daytime show in America. America's Got Talent has just wrapped on ABC in its 23rd season. America's Got Talent has just launched on NBC for its 20th season. But beyond the US, there's been so many other versions. There's 75 local versions of Got Talent, 56 Idols, 77 Family Feuds, and 56 X Factors over the last 25 years, just literally produced in multiple territories still today. And in this region's amazing for these types of formats. There's 22 versions of Got Talent, 12 Idols, 10 Family Feuds, and 12 Price is Rights. So also, these entertainment shows are incredibly successful on social media platforms such as YouTube and Facebook. So we embraced the posting of our clips of our talent shows on these platforms about 10 years ago. And in 2024, Fremantle was #7 publisher of content globally on YouTube. So our local production companies work alongside the broadcaster to manage the social channels for all of our talent shows and game shows for both promotional purposes and commercial purposes. And we've got a big in-house team in London and partners in the US and Turkey who post content for both specific series and our global channels. Now, we've all been hearing a lot about fast channels in the last few years, and there's lots to talk about their growth potential globally. We've got a dedicated fast channels team based in the US, and they manage all of our fast channels. And it's not surprising that the ones that perform best are long-running series with loads of episodes that are well-known to local audiences. So it's no surprise that our most successful fast channels are The Price is Right and Family Feud. They're both on 12 platforms in the US. There's also incredible opportunities for brand extensions of these long-running brands. So merchandising, sponsorship, phone voting. And we've got dedicated teams in all the key markets to oversee these activities. Now, outside of entertainment, another incredibly successful brand for Fremantle over the years has been Baywatch. So Baywatch was on air from 1989 to 1999. It ran for 11 seasons with a total of 250 hours of content. Back in the day, Baywatch was the most watched show on the planet in the 1990s. It sold to every territory in the world. But when it was cancelled in 1999, it didn't sell much for 20 years. Basically, it hadn't been cleared for streaming, the music hadn't been cleared, and it was in standard definition. But then we made a decision back in 2018 to remaster all episodes into high definition and then clear the music. So I oversaw that project 7 years ago. It was a big upfront investment, a big risk, but it actually paid off 10 times over. The results of the remastering are incredible. Baywatch has since sold to every territory and around the world, including Amazon, Hulu in the US, RTL in Germany, and France TV in France. And as with the game shows, Baywatch is brilliant for fast. It's got loads of episodes, very well-known cast, well-known brand, and it's procedural. So it's got a story of the week, so you can sort of dip in and out as you need to. Baywatch is on 16 fast channels in the US and 18 outside the US. It's our second most successful fast channel. So Baywatch, as you can probably tell, it's sort of close to my heart. We're going to show a Baywatch clip now, and at the same time, there's going to be a little giveaway given out in the audience. Excellent. Hopefully you've all got your caps. I've got mine too. Where are they? So another very successful brand for Fremantle is Jamie Oliver. So we've been selling Jamie Oliver series for 22 years now, and in that time we sold 60 seasons across 200 territories. The biggest markets being UK, Australia, Germany and Canada. And we've recently re-signed another 5-year output deal with Jamie Oliver. We've got exclusive rights to all his content. Now, what's really important for Jamie Oliver Group is book sales. That's where they make most of their money. So we work very closely with the local broadcaster and the local book publisher to coordinate the launch of the TV series with the launch of the book, with cross-promotional across to maximize book sales. And of course, we also launched a Jamie Oliver Fast channel in UK, US and Germany. It's one of our most successful channels, as once again, it's got lots of hours, it's a well-known brand, and you can dip in and out of each episode or season. The channel also, of course, lends itself to sponsorship and stunt activity. And we also launched 300 hours, this is full episodes of Jamie Oliver programming on YouTube, which again is being very successful. Now, fast forward to 2014, Fremantle, this is when Cecile came as our CEO. She noticed that a lot of the focus was on the talent shows, and she wanted to recalibrate the company with the aim of being 50-50 scripted, non-scripted within 5 years. And ultimately, she managed to do that. One of the first early acquisitions to get to that position was acquiring a company from Italy called Wildside. Now, after producing 2 seasons of the very successful Young Pope, starring Jude Law, Wildside then picked up the rights to 4 books by Elena Ferrante called My Brilliant Friend. And the books were massively successful globally, in particular in the US. Now, the TV series was developed. It was picked up by Rai in Italy and HBO in the US. It was the first non-English speaking drama ever to be picked up by HBO. The first season was an enormous success. It sold literally every country. 3 more seasons were produced with the same success. It's one of the best-selling series we've ever had at Fremantle, once again showing the importance of brands and well-known IP. And then fast forward to last year, one of the most notable series in the golden age of television was a show called Homicide: Life on the Street. And it returned to British screens this year. It was a 4 times Emmy-winning drama. It was supposed to be the most acclaimed drama in TV history. It revolutionized the TV genre when it launched in 1993, and it was the precursor to The Wire. It was a global hit back then, sold into 170 territories. But a bit like Baywatch, it hadn't been cleared for streaming, the music, and it was in standard definition. So again, it sort of sat unseen for all that time. And then last year, we teamed up with NBCU to basically remaster the whole series. And it's since sold everywhere. It looks fantastic. It's sold into Sky in the UK, Bell in Canada, SBS in Australia, and many other territories beyond there. So look, as we all know, the past 3 years have been very challenging for the TV industry and for TV distribution in particular. Now, in peak TV, there was massive demand for content from local and global streamers, pay TV, free-to-air broadcasters, and as a result, the supply of content, in particular drama, in the last couple of years reached new levels. But for 2023, as we all know, lots of consolidation, acquisition freezes, local streamers closing, global streamers commissioning their own content or buying local content second run. And this has led to a massive oversupply of content and also very careful acquisition execs. If they have a budget to spend, but also they're going to be very choosy what they buy because they want to have some chance of success. So they're buying stuff that can ideally market easy. And it's in this very, very tough period that Fremantle's long-running brands have helped us ride the storm, and actually last year managed to help us post our record profits of all time. So Family Feud, Got Talent, The Price is Right and Baywatch all appeared in our top 10 series last year. And I'm sure It's the same for our competitors with Dancing with the Stars, Deal No Deal, The Voice, and Doctor Who, all still selling globally. I look at the number of scripted remakes and formats being dusted down in recent years. You've got dramas such as Bergerac, Matlock, Sexy Beast, Return to Paradise, and then game shows such as Jeopardy, Millionaire, Name That Tune are all back in production. And Fremantle's updated versions of Supermarket Sweep, Match Game, Password were reviving Hole in the Wall in the UK, and we're in advanced talks with Fox in the US for a Baywatch reboot. So all this goes to show the strength and massive long tail of brands and IP, and our focus is on developing the next wave of franchises that will be selling 30 years from now. But looking back at Fremantle, it's really important to understand, what is it that makes a long-running TV brand? And we've been looking very carefully at that with all our development teams in Fremantle. We think for talent shows, it's key to have a distinctive but easy to understand format. That can also work in other local markets. Talent shows there's many talent shows. It must capture the audience's imagination, ideally family viewing that conveys a whole range of emotions from excitement, disappointment, as viewers turn in to follow their favourite contestant. And we think that's why long-running series like Got Talent, Idols, and X Factor are so successful. Then with lifestyle, our key success, as we said, is working with Jamie Oliver. And I think a lot of it's down to his charisma, building a brand alongside the 62 seasons that we produced or helped distribute. But what's been a real help is the broadcasters supporting, and they're willing to invest right at the beginning. And overnight success, as we all know, is pretty rare, but volume is a huge driver of success. If Jamie Oliver only ever sold 10 seasons, he wouldn't be half as well known as he is today. So it requires commitment from broadcasters, production and talent to push through the difficult years. When it comes to scripted content, we think the reason why things like Baywatch are successful is because they're blue sky, mainstream, aspirational, very well-known cast, David Hasselhoff, Pam Anderson, lovely location for the ultimate combination for escapism. And then My Brilliant Friend, it was an international hit, resonated worldwide. Again, obviously based on incredible IP, but it was a heartfelt story, relatable about friendship, and captured the imagination of viewers. Also, obviously, fantastically produced. So I think in conclusion, the elements that make a long-term TV brand are simplicity. A drama or entertainment format needs to be easy to sell and understand. Volume and repetition. It needs to have enough hours to obviously come back, so the viewers know it's going to come back every year. Every year is called appointment viewing. Local first, but international appeal. Obviously make a show for the local audience, but have a universal theme. So has the potential to go global, like My Brilliant Friend. Think beyond a commissioning broadcaster and how the content expands beyond the second window to platforms such as YouTube and Fast. And obviously such coverage gives you ability to grab audiences between seasons to keep a show relevant. And then obviously constantly review, adapt, and update a format to make it relevant to new audiences. So that's my speech. I'm going to bring Julian up now for a bit of a Q&A.
Thank you, Bob. Come take a seat. Good morning, everyone. The remastering of Baywatch, as we saw there, superbly done by your technical team and under your guidance. But there has to be a little bit more to it than just the picture quality. For example, if you go back to, series like Inspector Morse, perhaps, the framing, the shots, very different 20 years ago to what it is now. Almost from a first glance, you're thinking they're framing the wrong part of the scene.
Yeah.
So does that still work?
I think it does. I mean, there's obviously the nostalgic value or the sort of factor there. But Baywatch hadn't been seen, as I mentioned, for sort of 20 years. And it's a lot of the shows back in that era had lots of music, but obviously SVOD didn't even, or streaming didn't even exist in those days. So the music was never cleared for streaming. So when you come to a show like Baywatch, it's got, I think, 400 songs across the 250 hours. None of them were cleared. So we had to actually do a project to replace all those songs. So we replaced 400 songs, which we now fully own and bought out. So it was an enormous project. And obviously it was shot on film originally, which means you can actually remaster it to such a high quality. So that helped. But I think it's down to nostalgia. It was, certainly in the UK, it was family viewing at 5 o'clock on ITV.
Well, famously very nearly dropped after a season and rescued, I think, by London Weekend Television at the time.
Exactly right. It had been dropped by NBC. Then it went into syndication in the US for another 11 seasons. But that was largely thanks to Beta. who picked up the rights outside of within Europe, and then ITV in the UK.
So how does a show which was clearly immensely popular for a dozen years just fade away? Did the contracts sort of simply come to an end, and because the rights clearance hadn't happened, it disappeared?
Yeah, and I think that's true of quite a few films. I mean, I mentioned Homicide as well. That's another show that has thousands of hundreds of episodes. It was very popular back in the day. It wasn't cleared for streaming, and that's a big issue. But as technology has evolved, obviously replacing music is much easier and quicker. And of course, you then own the music. Obviously, I think the key ones are the theme tune. We obviously maintain the theme tune for Baywatch. And there was a classic episode with the Beach Boys singing California Girls, and we had to keep that in. There's no way we were going to take that out. But I think it's nostalgia. I think it's blue sky, aspirational. People love that, feel good.
And I guess also the storytelling over, and I've only nearly said 60 minutes. I've already been 40 by the time all the ads are squeezed in as well. But that's, again, it's a different thing. You referenced Bergerac and the reboot, which I think UK TV and the UK have been behind. I think the new season is 6 episodes, one story threaded through, whereas the original Bergerac probably would have been 13 episodes in a season.
Yeah.
And even then the BBC would probably have been accused of being shorter compared to American colleagues, and one story every week.
Yeah.
That, again, it's very different storytelling. And I wonder if the presence of Baywatch and other shows like it on fast channels might actually encourage a bit of a rethink at times.
I think so. I mean, we're always being told that it's mainstream is the key. Procedural, Story of the Week helps, because, as I say, you can dip in and out. It's also repeatable. I think broadcasters are sort of reluctant to take big risks these days on commissioning more than sort of 6 or 8 episodes. And a lot of dramas have like a Story of the Week plus an overlying sort of story across the whole series.
I guess that's what you need, because series will... I know they'll ebb and they'll thrive. I've seen, back to Bergerac, and I think it's like the 3rd or the 4th season was a lot darker, so consequently doesn't end up on the daytime repeats, for example. And
yeah.
I guess you have to watch for those things when selling a long running season, which may, or seasons, which may have like 300 episodes altogether.
Exactly. Yeah.
Other shows with a back catalogue, and I get you to maybe sort of make a few suggestions. Have you got others within the Fremantle library that you could work with and give the Baywatch treatment to?
We did look long and hard after Baywatch because it was such a success. The only one we found was Homicide. We had a slight right.
Just 4 seasons, I think you said. Yeah?
There was 7 of.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so lots of volume. Slight issue that NBC owned the US rights, so we had to work with them ultimately to do it, but that worked through in the end. There's not much, because the volume of episodes is quite rare to have 200 plus episodes. And as I mentioned to you before, that the fast channels, to make a fast channel work, you need at least 250 hours, because the channel's on 24/7. You need refresh rates. You need to be able to get, constantly refreshing the content. But not many single IP dramas have that. However, game shows do. I think Price is Right's got 4,000 hours, and Family Feud the same. So that's why those shows
will be daily over many weeks, won't they? In some markets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh. And I guess, if you compare that to, I'm trying to think of other shows, Law and Order.
Well, Law and Order.
I think I probably have seen that on
CIS.
Some markets.
Yeah, all that type of thing. In fact, Midsummer Murders, which I think is an all-free media show, does massively well for them. That's got, again, thousands of hours. That does really well as well.
Well, maybe there's some thoughts on shows in some of your libraries that we could get that treatment to. Wonderful. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.